What's up, y'all? Sparty here, and apologies for the mess. As you guys can see, I'm kind of locked in. It's blizzarding right now. But for this video, I guess what I want to talk about is talk. Jesus Christ, I'm not even from the East Coast, and that must come from the amount of East Coast rap I listened to over the years. But it's weird. What I want to talk about is V60, and I know I've talked about the V60 a whole bunch. I love this phone, as I've said in my video. It's my favorite phone of the year. It's still my favorite phone of the year. So let's get into this. And I guess for that, I'll just take it out of the dual screen case, or at least attempt to with one hand. Let me pause this real quick. Okay, so for this phone, what I want to talk about is the issues that you may go into getting this phone coming from another LG phone, in particular like a V50 or a V40 or even like a G7 maybe or a G8. There are certain things about the V60 that you may not like, but you may just end up dealing with because you like everything else about the phone, kind of like me, and apologies. My dog is gnawing on a bone right now, the last remnants of it. Apologies. Here are some things. No face unlock. Personally, I don't care, but it's something that's not here, especially if you're coming from a G8, which has, the more secure Apple-like face unlock. You're not going to be getting that on here. If you're coming from like a V30 or a V40 or a G7, you're not going to be getting voice unlock. So that's something that honestly I miss. I liked the voice unlock quite a bit. It was actually pretty damn secure. It like the phone just when everybody, even when you would say it in a different tone, it wouldn't recognize it and it wouldn't unlock. So it was very nice and very secure in that regards. Other things that you won't get in the camera app, what you won't get in particular in video mode is you won't get you won't get Cine video anymore. And the reason why that is that it just, from what I've seen, it just automatically puts it on 4K 60 HDR10 video. So that's something there. That's very nice, or something that is kind of gripe worthy to some people. Personally, I just prefer if they just allowed you to toggle it on. That would be nice, but it's just not there. There's no more point zoom either. That's something that I kind of, it's something I never used, but it's something that's really nice to play with. And it's something that I feel if I decided to use it and utilize it in some of my videos, I actually would like. So it's something that does suck, but nonetheless, it's not here. Another thing that's not here, or another thing that's different from like a V50, the mics. The mics on here, they're better mics. The problem is the noise reduction on top of the mics just kind of make it kind of like not that great to use in like super windy conditions. I feel sometimes it's fine, but there are a lot of times, and now look at this. If you guys can, I gotta get closer, but it's yeah, it's getting hectic out there. But yeah, back to this. Yeah, the mics are kind of a pain point as well. It's something that really makes me want to get a V50 because I feel for particular things and particular use cases, I would much rather prefer that. The mics on here are really good. And like environments like this, I feel is totally fine. Totally good, totally serviceable. I really don't have any issues with that. But in terms of outside walk and talk vlogging and stuff like that, no rhyme intended. I feel the S20 FE definitely does better. It's the best of the three phones that I've used the most over time, where say it's S20 FE, probably the V60, then the iPhone. The iPhone just gets super aggressive at times, the 12 Pro Max in particular, and I just don't really like that. So in terms of that, that sucks. And I wish LG didn't do that. Please, LG, Go back to how you did it with the V50. It's much more preferable. Another thing, no knock code. That's something that really sucks. So, as you guys know, since the G2, LG has been doing this double tap to wake and sleep, and they call it knock on, right? You double tap to wake, double tap to sleep, and it works fine, perfectly, right? What they employed with the G2, and I think it was the LG G Pro is the phone that had it first, was they had knock code. And what that did is that you put in a certain amount of taps on the screen. I typically would have 8, and it would unlock the phone. That's something that's just not here anymore. And that kind of sucks. Another thing that does indeed, that is much more of a preference thing, but it's also something that I feel is much better. A rear mounted fingerprint sensor is definitely preferred for me personally. One, it works better when it comes to outside and say your finger's a little bit wet or something like that. It works better that way, whereas the fingerprint sensor, at least when it comes to this, I do wish they went with the ultrasonic one like Samsung, where it could do a little bit better at recognize your fingerprint, like saying like weather condition, like say hot or cold weather conditions, or if it's a little bit wet. But even then, it isn't like the S20 FEs in particular is infallible. It definitely still has issues, but it's much better than just having a capacitive one that works fine. It works quite well, but the problem is that I just prefer a rear mounted fingerprint sensor, or at least put it in the power button, like say the iPad Air, or like say the newer iPads, or like the Sony phones. That would be nice too. Um, what else? There really isn't much else. Like I've always said, like especially when having this phone, I wish that they just gave you a toggle to go into a high impedance mode. That's something that no LG phone has really had since they've had quad DACs. It's something that would definitely have been nice, but it's just something that's just not here. Another thing that would have been nice, something that the V10 had, was audio splitting. So you can plug in, say, corded headphones and connect a Bluetooth headset. You could hand, say, somebody your Bluetooth headset, or if they're using their Bluetooth headset, and you can use the corded headphones, and you both can listen to the same audio. That's something that hasn't been on an LG phone since the V10. So that's something that I definitely wish they still kept, but it's just not here. What else? One thing I do wish they do employ, and it's something that the S20 FE has, but the problem with the S20 FE is that if you record in 4K 60, it doesn't save to the SD card. So what would be nice is the if the next LG V phone, or their plain Jane regular flagship phone, can just have, say, a 21 by 9 4K 60 recording option. That would be very nice, because it's just really, I've been recording in 1080p 21 by 9 mode on, say, my G8, and I like it a lot. I just wish that it could be in 4K. And LG, please do that. That would be very nice. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about, oh, it doesn't have a removable battery and stuff that's just not going to come back. Like, the removable battery fight is done. It's not going to come back. As much as I wish they would bring it back, it's not. Like, those kind of features are left for lower end phones, and that sucks, sadly. Or they're left for the more like, apologies, the phone wasn't even in the frame. I'm hand holding. This is handheld, so it's made for those more durable industrial phones and stuff like that. That's just something that's not going to happen again with flagships. It's said and done. The fight of putting more overall battery capacity into your phone but sealing the battery off, versus having a smaller capacity battery but having to carry multiple of them, it's kind of said and done that we want that a lot of consumers prefer the latter. And that sucks, but it's just something that it sucks that we're not getting these options anymore. But it's just something that these manufacturers just figured out. More people want more charge out of their phone. So that's what they do. I know people say I can carry 4 or 5 batteries fully charged. Yeah, but at the same time, at the at at those times, how long did those batteries last? V20, for instance, one of my favorite phones of all time, only really was able to get 5 to 6.5 hours of screen on time out of it, compared to the V60, which can get 15 hours of screen on time just watching YouTube. And to me, that's something you really shouldn't undermine, right? We've gotten to this point with battery tech that we don't really need multiple batteries. It made sense when your phones like I get it. It makes sense when your battery when you use your phone to the point where it just doesn't hold a charge anymore, right? But there are things with LG in particular, like they have their 2 year promise and stuff like that in terms of their warranty, and you could just send the phone in and get a new phone, or they could just, or not a new phone, but you could just, they most likely will just put a new battery in there. There's stuff like that that I feel is much more accommodating. Well, not much more accommodating, but it's accommodating enough to the consumer where I feel you can get these types of things that make more sense. Plus, a 5,000 milliamp hour battery degrading over time, that's going to take far longer to degrade over time than, say, a 3,200 milliamp hour battery that degrades to like 28 or 2,600 milliamp hours. Like, at most, my V60 within a year will probably lose like an hour or two worth of battery life. And to me, going from 15 to 13 and a half hours is what I get on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. So yeah, that's all I really want to say, though. In terms of this, again, I'm not trying to say that removable batteries are stupid. No, I'm not saying that. Like I've said, I've really liked removable batteries. Oh, and again, another thing, LG, bring back the IR blaster. There's no real reason not to have it. Look how thick this phone is, right? It makes no sense not to have it, other than the fact that Samsung doesn't have it. It's kind of stupid. But please bring the IR blaster back. I really do miss that feature too. Like, keep the headphone jack, obviously. We'll see what they do. Obviously, their LG rollable phone and like the wing doesn't have headphone jacks, but I chalk that up more to the phones are experimental, so they don't want to have more points of failure on the phone. I don't necessarily see that as they're totally giving up the headphone jack, but we'll see what happens. We don't know at the end of the day, so we'll see. But this is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for support. Let me know in the comment section below what you feel the flaws with your particular phone are, or whatever, right? You guys have a wonderful Christmas. Hopefully it's not as blizzard ridden as mine. But yeah, have a good one.